On this week's Hot List, Millennial Mood. He turned 71 this week. Why Prabowo Subianto may not be the presidential favorite of young people. Prison problem. A deadly fire a year ago killed dozens. Why conditions haven't changed. We get an exclusive talk with this prison inmate inside. And Woman in Wax. Why singer Agnez Mo is now frozen in time. Hello and welcome. This is Hot Indonesia. I'm Dalton Tanonaka in Jakarta. Let's get to it. My co-hosts, Millie Luquito, CEO of the Mobiliati Group from her home in Jakarta, and Linda Ibrahim, writer and business consultant based in Jakarta. Hot topic number one, Millennial Mood. Prabowo Subianto turned 71 this week. He's been at the top of previous polls for presidential favorites in 2024. But the latest survey by the Center for Strategic and International Studies found that younger people between 17 and 39 want a younger candidate, with both Central Java Governor Ganjar Pranowo and former Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan beating the defense minister in head-to-head matchups. Now, keep in mind, ladies, I know you know that this age group is projected to make up 54%, more than half of all the voters in the upcoming election, and this includes a lot of first-time voters. Millie, this has to be a wake-up call for the former general who has already lost twice for president and once for vice president.
Yes, Dalton, that is correct. In this upcoming presidential election, the choice of the vice president candidates will be crucial. And this is especially true in the case of Prabowo, who this week will turn 71. You are correct. But he understands this quote-unquote weakness or challenges. And therefore, we know that he has been discussing, talking with several would-be potential vice presidential candidate, and they are young. They are appealing to the younger generation and voters. So we shall see who he will pick as his number two.
You know, this CSIS survey found that young people questioned in all 34 provinces wanted someone, quote, the ability to make change. Now, Linda, do you think the defense minister can shape his message to include that?
He probably can try to shape his message much better than he did the last presidential election. But one thing remains, two things actually. One thing remains, he's going to be 73 by the time he's running in 2024, yes. And then the second thing is that as much as I agree with what Ibu Mili was saying about the importance of VP selection, if you look at the people around Prabowo these days, they have not changed since the last time he ran. They're very, very, very few younger people. So that shapes how he sees things, what he thinks as important. It's hard, to look outside the box. If you yourself never move yourself outside the box or bring new people in, and I don't really see that around Prabowo. So, it's going to be a very tough sell for him to convince I think the oldest Gen Y this year is like 39, 40. They're going to be 42. So he's technically twice the age of the average Gen Y.
Well, and you remember last time he had Mr. Sandi Aga Uno, who a former co-host of this program, and he still didn't win. But of course, that was up against the immense popularity of the incumbent president. Now, the percentages weren't that far apart. I mean, it's not like the other two younger governors were far ahead. Millie, given that not all eligible young voters will actually cast ballots, it's crucial that the Gerindra leader keep the older voters that he always attracts on his side. What issues are important to, let's say, older voters?
I think for the older voters, okay, in Indonesia now, in the last election, it was almost 50-50. The division was almost 50-50. But what made Jokowi won the presidency was actually the minority voters.
Yeah.
So at this time around, Prabowo is actually trying to garner more votes and confidence and support from the minority side.
When you say minority, race or religion?
Race, religion, and because now it is this country is sort of quote unquote divided into two in terms of religion. So that's why the 10% difference where the minority resides is now going to be very important for all the candidates. So Prabowo is really trying hard to garner confidence from this minority group, because from the Muslim side, I think he's quite poised, or that he has their backing and support. But if he is up and running against, especially Anies Baswedan, Prabowo will need that extra 10% support from the minority group.
Okay, and you mean
So-
conservative Muslims, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
One last point before we got to move on, and I want to go back to this VP issue. It's said, though, in political circles that the vice presidential pick really doesn't matter. This is in the U.S. and other countries that voters actually focus on the top spot. But it's almost certain, Linda, as you mentioned, that Mr. Subianto's running mate has to be a young person, right, Linda? It has to be.
Yes. Well, it's VP choice is not important if the number one choices are that much of a difference from each other. So there's a distinguished point. But if they're similar, in characteristic or age demographics, then it comes down to the VP selection. If you remember, take the US, for example, it was Donald Trump and Joe Biden, they're all white old males. Made it the difference was the choice of the VP, because Mike Pence was just another white old male, but Kamala Harris is completely different choice altogether at that election. I do think, that won a lot of swing voters and a lot of women. That's something that we need to see. As far as I'm concerned, at this point, I'm not interested in any of the presidential candidates. Throw me any name, I'm not interested. So if this dynamics do not change until 2024, people like me, and I believe, just looking around me, and this may be biased, but it's a growing number of discontent. We're not happy with any names being thrown at us at the moment.
Okay, well, there's a year and a half. It's a year and a half away. There's time for young.
Yeah.
You never know. But
You never know.
it seems the favorites are always in there, and let's see what happens. Okay, Hot Indo will continue shortly with prison problem, overcrowding, a serious emergency. We go inside for an exclusive talk with this inmate on just how dangerous it is.
Saya ingin mengumumkan kerjasama dengan The Indonesia Channel. Saya mendorong semua entitas untuk bergabung dalam upaya ini dengan mempromosikan produk dan layanan mereka di platform digital yang unik ini.
I love Indonesia. I love the food. Yummy. Wow. I'm gonna hunt for ingredients. Now I'm ready to cook. Let's go to the kitchen. It's done. Let's meet to eat.
Foodiepedia on the Indonesia Channel.
Segala sesuatu di sekitar kita mungkin berbeda.
Tetapi semangat kami masih sama.
Untuk memberikan pelayanan yang terbaik.
Dan bahkan lebih dari sebelumnya.
Kami peduli dan kami di sini untuk Anda.
Untuk memberikan kenyamanan layaknya di rumah Anda sendiri.
Hi, I'm Rory He. You're watching the Indonesia channel, the home of good sport.
I'm Trần Minh Ngân of VCC Net Việt in Hanoi.
I'm Thairat Thumya of Thailand's Thairat TV in Bangkok.
I'm Monica Sambodet from the National Television of Cambodia in Phnom Penh.
I'm Raymond Go of Malaysia's TV3 in Kuala Lumpur.
I'm Glenda Chong of Singapore's Channel News Asia.
I'm Raisa Chantami of the Indonesia channel at the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta.
This is your weekly look into the dynamic Southeast Asia region.
ASEAN Today on the Indonesia channel.
The Best of Bali takes viewers on a special guided tour to the treasures of the island of the gods.
Oh, the romantic dinner is beautiful.
The Best of Bali, only on the Indonesia channel.
You're watching Hot Indonesia with Millie, Linda, and me. Here's hot topic number 2, prison problem. It was a little more than a year ago when an early morning fire blamed on an electrical problem broke out in this prison in Tangerang, south of Jakarta. 41 prisoners died in their cells. 9 would die later in the hospital. The block where the fire broke out was built to hold 38 inmates. 122 men were there that morning. The tragedy in Tangerang is far from being an exception. Just about every prison in this country is over capacity, many with equally hazardous conditions. Now, for a real look at the problem, we go inside of one of Indonesia's detention facilities that we are not identifying for obvious reasons. Al has been behind bars for more than 3.5 years now on a drug conviction. We are masking his face and altering his voice for obvious reasons. Now, Al, inmates are not allowed to have phones inside. You were able to secure one because you felt the issues we're discussing is important enough. First question to you, if you can remember back, when the news of the Tangerang fire and the horror of what happened, you heard about that, what was your immediate reaction?
When the news broke, when that happened, my initial reaction was not surprise. It was as tragic as it is, it's just a matter of time until something like that happens. When you look at these facilities, I mean, first of all, they weren't built for the amount of people that they're holding, but they're not necessarily built recently either. And so when you look at the electrical work or any of they're not updated. Not updated to code for what I would believe would be certain expectations. It's old wiring, it's old ventilation, everything. They're not kept up.
Okay, I was referring mainly to the capacity problem. Where you are now, how crowded or overcrowded is it?
I believe this prison was built for 500 people. I think we're over 3,000. So it is a fair bit. And kind of touching on what the question that you posed a moment ago, I believe there's a big difference, and other countries have their problems too, but I believe that one of the biggest differences is when you're looking at the law or applying the law, looking at the person and the situation and determining whether they're wrong, they're guilty, or they're evil. And like you said, a lot of these drug users and a lot of them, they don't have a high level of education. And so what they did, certainly, was it wrong? For me personally, I was using medical marijuana to treat migraines. And so even now, based on my morals and belief, I don't believe it was wrong, but I am guilty in this country. But when the Indonesian law is applied, and afterwards, after the conviction comes out, each person is wrong, guilty, and evil. And that's how you're treated, and that's how the perception from the public comes in.
Okay, now getting back to prison conditions, Millie, question for Al.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Capacity of 500, but 3,000 people are there. how has all this experience made you as a person? Are you Does it make you more cynical, sarcastic, or are you more religious, maybe spiritual?
You know, Millie, I would venture to all of those things. In some ways, I'm definitely more cynical. I'm definitely it pains me to say this because I lived in Indonesia for 7 years before I was arrested. I love the people, love the culture, love beautiful country. But in here, I'm Christian, and in here, my religion has been weaponized against me, and that has actually made me stronger within my own faith. So again, in some ways, I'm cynical.
Okay, Linda, question for Al.
It's a capacity of 500 and there are 3,000 people. So that's going to be the fight of the fittest. I've been hearing stories about bribing your way to make your life more comfortable in situations like that. Is that true? Like, for example, for you to secure this communication device at this point, did you have to like do something extra to be able?
Absolutely. And that's one of those things too, where I don't like to buy into corruption, but at a certain point, if I want to talk to my family, I don't feel like I have a lot of choices. Similarly to, when it comes to food, the state or the government provides food, but it's not, I go out of my way to secure or try to secure, and that does take a little bit extra money on the side. So yes, things like a cell phone or getting some of these other things, yes, it is very alive and well.
And you have to pay the direct people in front of you, guards, their bosses?
Yeah, it can come down at any time, especially closer to holidays. You can kind of plan for that and expect that everybody's, they're going to ask you for THR or, those things. So it really does depend. And having a phone, even though like it is kind of secured, it does open me up for more vulnerabilities that they could come at any time and either threaten to take it away, and there'd be punishments, at which point, I'm caught between a rock and a hard place to either pay them because of a previous arrangement, or suffer the consequences of that.
And you're saying that the prison officials know inmates have phones, right?
Yeah, and and for the most part, in here, again, like having a phone, it is prohibited in here, but for the most part, people use their phones to talk with their family. Outside, having a phone isn't illegal. It's what you do with the phone. I'm not doing anything illegal with my phone. I'm just trying to talk with my parents on, and my family back home. So that too is, it's a caveat.
Yeah, sure. No. We understand the dilemma, and I think also defending the prison, if you call it that, it's kind of a crowd control situation. If they took away all phones from all inmates, there'd probably be more problems. Would you agree with that quickly, Al?
Yeah, certainly, because there's definitely, there's not a lot to do in here, and that was one of the first interviews I had with Kantor Bapa, with the parole office after I was sentenced. They came and did a check, and I asked them, I said, if I'm going to be in here for X amount of years, what am I supposed to do every day? There's nothing to do.
Okay, Al, we gotta wrap this up, and I don't want to keep you too long. Is there anything you would like to say directly to either authorities or to the public?
Motto of Indonesia is Indonesia Maju, and that's a good motto. And I believe it is time for action to continue to go that way. Because right now, it definitely seems more like Indonesia putar-putar, just going around in circles.
Okay, Al, thank you very much. Please be safe, and best wishes in your future. Hopefully your sentence ends soon and that you're on your way to your new life. Hot Indo will continue shortly. Woman in Wax, why this Indonesian artist has a twin in Singapore.
I'm Caitlin Turner, and welcome to Yoga Bliss. Exhale, reaching down to triangle pose.
Roll your knee out and up to the sky. Breathing here.
Yoga Bliss, only on the Indonesia Channel. This is the Indonesia Channel.
You are watching iPop Playlist.
iPop on the Indonesia Channel.
You're watching Hot Indonesia from Jakarta. Here's hot topic number 3, woman in wax. She's had her share of international exposure as a singer since moving to the US. Now, Agnez Mo will be on permanent display as a wax figure in the Madame Tussauds Museum in Singapore. Operators said she was chosen as the most awarded Indonesian performing artist. She joins badminton legend Rudy Hartono in the Singapore visitor attraction. Nice honor, right, Millie? Since the only other Indonesians in wax in other branches of that museum are 2 presidents, Sukarno and Joko Widodo, and singer Anggun.
You know, Agnez Mo, Agnez Monica is like a sister to me. So we often meet, and then we often share meals together, and wherever I go with her, wherever people see her, she's like a magnet, you know. People just flock to her and ask for...
You're a magnet too, Millie, come on.
No, but Agnez Monica, I've never seen anybody like that. People hug her and they go, Agnez, 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 Agnez. So for sure, Madame Tussauds is very smart in basically... putting the wax replica of Agnez Mo in the museum. That's very smart because she is such an influencer. Hundreds of millions of people. Basically, if she's running for president, I'm sure the Indonesians will definitely vote for
the VP, vice presidential candidate, whoever does that, they'll win.
Yes.
No, but you're right. It's a great promotional gimmick because many Indonesians go to Singapore, of course, as we know, and now they'll visit that museum to take a picture with our Agnez Mo.
Sure.
All the Indonesians I mentioned are obvious choices. I want you guys to think real quickly on your feet here. I would like to nominate one more figure who should be in wax, and then I'm going to ask you guys real quickly here while I talk. Yeah, I would want to see Chut Nyak Din, the female military leader who led soldiers, kind of like a general, although that wasn't what she was called, against Dutch occupiers in Aceh. For 25 years, she led the troops in the late 1800s. I mean, imagine her in her full combat gear and you know, very handsome-looking woman. That's my opinion for who we should have next in wax. A brave woman and mother. Millie, your suggestion?
Oh, okay. Maybe my other sister, Ralin Shah. Again, wherever I go with her, you know, she's such a magnet.
Who is she? I don't know her. Which?
Okay, so Dalton, you have to Google her then. She's just like Agnez Mo, except she doesn't sing, but she's an actress. And she also resides, she resides both here and Los Angeles. And quite an international artist she is.
Okay. Linda, your choice for wax woman or wax man.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati.
Wow.
The only woman, the first woman ever to be in the second in command at a World Bank and the first person holding that position with actually portfolio to manage, not just function. That's
I
very
also
high up
agree.
there. That's very high up there. And they don't have anyone like her anymore.
And she's also mentioned as a possible presidential or vice presidential candidate in the
Yeah,
future.
well, that
That might be
possibility,
an interesting
yeah.
number 2 choice, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
And I would vote for her when she runs.
It is feedback time now, and Puyang commented on why Indomie is the world's best-selling instant noodle. Our seasoning uses a lot of spices. It's different from Japanese and Korean noodles. And Mata in the Netherlands asked this on Facebook. How can I watch in the Netherlands? Simple. Download our free TIC mobile app from the Apple App Store or Google Play, or try a streaming service such as Pizzazz. Here's how to contact us with your feedback. Email at hotindo@theindonesiachannel.com or comment through our Hot Indonesia or Indonesia Channel Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. Final words, Millie.
In Jakarta, in a certain area called Pantai Indah Kapuk, now there are so many places called Durian Cafe. So they only sell all kinds of durian and only selling durian. And as you know, my middle name is, Durian is my middle name. So last week, I went to one of the Durian Cafe and I had such a blast, trying durian, musang king, and all kinds of durian from Indonesia. Well, yeah, that's my final words, that Jakarta now is a durian heaven.
Final words, Linda.
Unfortunately, this week there's a lot of flood going around Jakarta and also in East Java and actually Bali. Different parts of Bali are flooded. While I know a lot of people are going for vacation this weekend, so my take is that when you're out there, be careful. Always look at the weather app, and plan your visit carefully, plan your travel, your routes, and stay safe.
In my final words, I'm just back from a business visit to the place that had the same name as a holiday bird dinner, but no more. The country formerly known as Turkey officially changed its name back to its traditional name, Turkiye. The United Nations approving the request back in June, and the transformation is well underway there in signage and conversation. To some in the Indonesian tour group that I flew with, it was a surprise actually, but they began honoring the change immediately, as did I. And that is Hot Indonesia for this week. For Millie Lukito and Linda Ibrahim, I'm Dalton Tanonaka. Thank you very much for watching. Please join us again next time.